Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
And today we have another GM 911 from you, from Sue of the Little Things.
Right. So before we get into that, we have the Nerdarchy newsletter down in the description below. You can sign up for that, get some tips, figure out how to game with Nerdarchy, and back to the show.
So basically the gist of it is Sue has a lot of rules lawyers. They won't share their character sheets with this GM. They're playing online. Like, they always try and want to argue and retcon things. And here's the biggest problem. You're trying to play by the rules. And as the GM, you don't really have to. And here's what I mean by this. Like, there's a lot of things that are feasible in the game that could be done. And you don't actually have to know the solution at the given time. Like, an instance was, one of the characters could see magic. Well, the bad guy was invisible or whatever, so they would, in theory, be able to, see that, right? Well, non-detection is a fairly low-level spell.
Yeah.
And I believe that actually defeats that.
Yeah.
And there's other things, too. Like, you don't feel like you have to justify what you're doing to your players.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's not really fun to play anyway. As long as you're not really just trying to screw them over and whore them over, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're the GM and you're there to facilitate a story.
Like, as long as you're playing fair, making things interesting, and also playing fair by them, like, to just have a good story overall and a good experience, like, yeah. Like, as long as your intent's good, and it's just not, wahaha, I'm going to beat the party. Like, it's all fine and good.
Like, it sounds like you have a lot of players that are always trying to win D&D, and want to pull all these gotcha moments. Like, another example is, like, the paranoid character has all these precautions, so the GM asks for them, and then, like, the precautions get beat because there's bad rolls. And then another player wants to chime, oh, my familiar was on watch.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't tell me the familiar was on watch before, so, you know what? Yeah, your familiar was on watch, but they didn't notice either.
Yeah.
Whatever. Do I get a roll? No.
They poisoned your familiar, slit its throat, actually.
Yeah, your familiar's gone.
Yeah.
No, or, your familiar fell asleep or whatever. And actually, I don't know, like, in this edition, I don't know that there's the connection between Master and Familiar that there was previously, so, like, it could be killed and you might not know. Like, you actually have to take an action to see through their senses and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Like, that could be just an interpretation of how Familiar would work in your game. But, again, too, it's just kind of, it's kind of petty for the players to keep doing that over and over again. And, instead of... The biggest mistake that you're making is actually trying to justify what you just did.
Engage in the argument. Yeah, I mean, you could do the old Spoonie Noah Atweiler thing. Where
Isn't
it's like,
that interesting?
It is interesting that happened that way, isn't it? So, yeah, and also, too, if you make a ruling for how a thing works, just make a note of that, and just, if you play by that ruling every single time, then there's no space to argue. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to make a judgment call on how this works. And you'll be able to use it in this way, too, from now on, because the rules don't explicitly spell out this one detail.
Right, or if you, God forbid, you get a rule wrong, oh my God, the world's going to end in this game. You can always go back to it later. There's no reason to stop the game, for the most part. It doesn't sound like Sue of the Little Things is out to get the party or killing them. She just wants interesting and cool stories to happen. And whenever that happens, the player's just trying to, do this one-upmanship kind of thing that I've seen at the table. And it's like, look, dude, I got like these books here. I got all these books, and I can use anything I want in them,
or make stuff up,
or make stuff up.
So you're never gonna beat the GM. Like, that's it shouldn't be a concern, because literally, like, 3 Tarrasques drop from the sky, and well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like I've seen it where someone has challenged that. Yeah, but my DM said that, and then I made a character. Well, your DM did it wrong, dude. He played by your rules. He's the GM. You're literally the god, all of the gods in the world. Oh, really? You beat this thing? Now that I have a picture of what you can do, now I'm going to just keep throwing things at you. Because that's, in essence, what you could do. Acid could fall from the sky. You can use unlimited wishes. It's not a matter matter of beating the players as the GM. That's not our job. Our job is to create an interesting environment for the players to interact with.
Challenges, creating challenges, to have things to overcome. Like, literally, if there's no challenges at your game, whether they be social or monsters in combat or whatever, there's no point to playing the game if there's nothing to like discover and find out and like have actual stakes and risks to take, right?
And from the player standpoint, if you're doing this, stop.
Yeah.
Go play a video game if this is what you want to do.
Yeah, you can win those games all day, and you can like keep. And actually, for the retcon thing, like you have multiple save points. You can go back. Like I didn't like the way that this encounter went down. So if they want to keep hitting the reset button on how things actually happen and have no repercussions, which the interesting things about role playing games is there actually are consequences to your actions. Whereas video games, you can go like slaughter everybody in the town, and like maybe some games have AI to like sort of deal with that. But also too, if you go out of town for a while and like let things cool down, like you can go back and everyone's there to greet you again, like you didn't just murder 6 people in the town. So like they have multiple save points in video games, and maybe that's the experience that they want, because they obviously don't want consequences to their actions or inactions, apparently.
Yeah, so step one, like to really nip this in the bud, is just stop explaining yourself. You don't have to. Like the characters do not have all the information.
Yeah. There's new information, man. New information has come to light. So
and so like when you start playing and they start, they're obviously these players are going to be like, well, blah blah blah, whatever, because if you try and do this, they're going to say something. There will be an argument. I can already see that, but all you have to say is you don't have all the information and move on.
Yeah,
and eventually you can get to the point where you get past that, or that your gaming styles won't mesh or whatever. You'll have to figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be that you end up taking the people that are worthwhile from this group and like finding others to round out, because it's just being in a constant argument with people over rules is just not fun.
It's not fun. Yeah, it's not why we play the game.
Yeah. And like you can explain that like I don't do this to justify everything that I do. Like that's
right. I want to tell a story with you guys. Like we can do that, or or I might as well just go play a video game, because because it's got to be fun for everybody at the table. Not just the players, not just the GM. It's a shared experience. You guys should be trying to build a story collaboratively, and if every one of your calls is being put into question, it's not going to be fun for anybody. And at that point, I would actually be like, would you like to take over the session, or what's your character? I'll play that.
Yeah.
And you can GM the rest of the session.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're kind of doing. They're armchair quarterbacking, or GMing in this case, from within the session, which gets annoying fast.
Yeah, I mean, if every rules is, or ruling you make is up for discussion, then like that seems just horrendous, and I would rather not play with that group personally. That's
So there's some suggestions. You're gonna have to figure out what works best for you. If it's salvageable, or if it's just gonna be an escalating thing. Again, stop engaging them on their level with this.
I mean, really, this is largely just going to be like an out of game discussion of like, look, this is what I want to do. I will always be fair and not try to just beat you guys. And so this might just be a discussion like out of game as adults, like before the game, or maybe just set up a little conference call or whatever to do that and put it out there.
Yeah, well, they are gaming online, so you might want to be like, look, guys, stop questioning everything I do in the game, and stop trying to win D&D, because you can't.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You guys let us know in the comments below. What do you think of this situation? Have you had it come up in your games before? What have you done? While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on Nerdarchy, the store.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.